سلام بچه‌ها خوش اومدید and welcome to this Thursday stream of Las Plumas de Simur. My name is Plumas and I'm going to be your host for this session today. A session I'm quite excited about, although we have to start this with a prayer, basically, because the last time I attempted to talk about this topic, Twitch was working poorly, to put it in an elegant way, and the stream was cut in like so many times. It was cut so many times that I truly believe this is a doing of the jinn and the div that do not want me to share their secrets, as if there were any. But still, please let's elevate a prayer for Twitch and the platform to not fall down dramatically, tremendously down a very steep hill. Salam! How am I? I'm good. I'm a little bit stressed because I'm trying to coordinate many projects at the same time, yet I am gonna enjoy all of them. I cannot wait to share some of them with you. Pretty much exciting things coming in the horizon, yet not to be discussed. Who's joining us today? Hello Serapis, سلام نفر چطوری؟ تو خوبه؟ Hello Sacerdotisa, hello Eric, and hello Letty. Oh Typhoon, it's been so long since the last time I saw you here. I hope you're feeling a little bit better, and if you joined us for some company, I am most excited. I am delighted to have you here. Hello, Tierra. Let's pray the jinn do not attack this time. Let's pray the gym. Let's pray the jinn that they behave. I just want them to behave. I do not even want them to perform in a particular way. Also, I think the lighting is okay for now because one of my lights is not working. I know I've been saying that I will work on a better light setting. I've been saying that for a very long time, and I'm not doing it. But yes, it's something I have my mindset onto, and definitely gonna put this pattern money for good use and purchase some kind of setting that I can at least live just there hanging, or maybe dismantle and mantle again quite easily. Hello, Rocco. That's Hafez if we will have good fortune today. I don't want to ask Hafez anything because I fear he might reply. So yeah, welcome everyone to this stream. If this is the first time you pop by, because I know there's quite a few new people over there. Salam, my name is Plumas and I am a doctor. I know that I don't look like one, but I'm an history PhD, and I do love sharing my knowledge with you about mostly the Persianate, Iran, and Mesopotamia. Although today we'll be separating a bit from the whole Persianate and its cultural shenanigan, and we'll dive into something that is also of great interest, at least for me, which is the mythology of Islamic Arabia. Anything that has mythology written on it is my jam on toast with tea. And because I found it fascinating, especially, hello Ansho, hi! The connections between Arabia and Iran mostly were created via the religious faith, which is Islam. And this includes, of course, the jinn and the div, which ended up being merged in the same creator. This is what we call syncretism, and even if it's the most famous form of syncretism is a religious one, it does occur too in mythology, is what we study when we use a discipline compared mythology. That's when we try to disentangle the myths that were parallel and became one at some point in time, and we try to see and unravel the original sources for it. Difficult, but still exciting. I'm most curious to know where the Kaaba got its start. We're not talking about the Kaaba today. We're going to talk about something else. And the stories we're going to be telling today, although it is true that this mythological syncretism existed, we are going to be mostly centered in the Arabian Peninsula. However, we won't be just staying in quote-unquote medieval times. That means that we want to be only saying in the centuries between the 7th and the 14th. In this stream we will be traveling to the 19th century. You heard me right. 19th century, and we're going to talk about Lovecraft. Yeah, the cosmic horror author, that one, because he's somehow connected to this Irām of the Pillars thing. And I will flash forward for a moment and tell you there are a couple of topics I'd like to talk about. And also, this is not going to be the stream as per usual as we have it in this channel, because I don't have a script per se, not the script that I normally prepare, at least. And that is because I wanted this to be much more relaxed chat. This is a topic I wanted to touch upon for quite a long time, actually. But I want to do it in form of conversation. See, if I was telling you a story and you were the listeners. And why am I saying this? Because there's not actually anything I can show you connected to Irām of the Pillars that makes sense. And you will understand why I'm saying this soon, hopefully. And also, this stream is giving me the excuse to talk about all the topics that I'm very interested in, that I will also reflect upon the concept of lost civilizations, quote unquote, and the mysticism of, you guessed it, the idea of the Orient that carried out from the 19th century onwards, and that still today we keep suffering from, because sometimes we want so badly a good myth, a good legend, a good story about a lost city, that we read what we want to read and understand what we want to understand. Also, I guess the cinema from the 80s damaged considerably the notion of a lost city. And well, the 19th century literature, the 19th century colonialism mindset, and the 19th century in general, because the 19th century is awful. And I will fight to anyone who defends it, because, my God. Is Lovecraft known for adding a character with a grammatically incorrect Arabic name into his stories? Perhaps. I'm not a big Lovecraft fan myself. That's not the reason I'm here anyway. But that's not exactly the reason he is gonna be. Hello, Nazi Rose. He's not gonna be mentioned because of that. But that also is a good example of what we like to call Orientalism. And the last time I talked about this topic was last week in Spanish, and they kept on counting the times that I said the word Orientalism, and they make me take a sip every time. So if you want to do that and keep, I don't know, I'm going to say it a lot. So, and also there's a change in the scenery, which is this lovely Kashan architecture. Kashan is a city in Iran. It's quite close to, let me show you properly. It's quite close to Tehran, close to Tehran a bit. And Orientalism, cheers. And I like it. I really like the architecture on Tehran, on Kashan. Not because it's particularly historical, because this traditional architecture has a bit of an inventive side, and also a bit of adaptation side. If you I can talk about the architecture of Kashan if you want, but I like it because I think I found this on a website of images free of use. It's called Unsplash, and I think I've been here. And if I haven't been here, I've definitely been into a very similar place. Very similar. The traditional houses in Kashan are pretty much all the same. It feels familiar, but I don't think I've been into this particular one. However, I've been into many traditional houses in Kashan. I was fortunate enough to go. So I note down the topic. Sure, I can note it down into my notebook to note things. Kashan architecture. Okay. I'm making a note. I am making a note, because if not, I'm gonna forget. Kashan architecture. I should have a secretary for these things. Not because I want to boss anyone around, but because my calligraphy is just a disaster. Anyway, so today there's not going to be images. It's just going to be me chatting. I have a couple of notes in here. And let's get started, shall we? I have no idea for how long we're going to be here because, well, it depends on you, mostly. Oh, there's a question. Was Oriental studies a fashionable thing in the 19th century? It seems I still can't find translation of some Islamic texts more recent than the 19th century. It certainly was. So the 19th century was the era of colonialism, and with that came this curiosity, this necessity, and this desire for getting to know this otherness that suddenly Europe and the Western countries have come in contact with. And due to this colonialism, archaeology and art history studies were carried out in a very poor manner, in the sense that we're talking about the 19th century. There was a race theory dividing humans into races and, having a tier list of us because we were not the same. How come we were going to be the same? God forbid! So due to this colonialism, if you think about it, the Arabian Peninsula, Egypt, Iraq and Iran, India suffered from a very severe time of colonialism. So Islam was just one of many topics that rose attention. And we have this time the biggest archaeological findings in the Middle East. There's also some excavations, and many of the famous archaeologists that are studied now in universities belong to this time. And I'm not going to say very much positive things about it. There were positive things, absolutely. But the thing with colonialism and Orientalism particularly is that the phenomenon consisted basically of invading someone else's territory. Given that you had or enjoyed a very, very much privileged situation than the country you were visiting or invading rather than visiting, you would take advantage of the poorness of the people, the necessity around, or the lack of knowledge these areas had about their own heritage, and you will just take everything over. And so the biggest European museums were born and founded. I love that you addressed this thing, so important and so little talked about in general. There is very little talk about this, and exactly, loco, you got it. So yeah, it's something that we should reflect upon, because again, in the 19th century, many stereotypes were settled, and some of them are still written in stone. We may not realize, but the West still sees very poorly certain aspects of many things. I gave a paper on how jinn were portrayed in video games, for example, and the Orientalism is severe. Like when they represent the Middle East in video games, it's just all these Arabian Nights flow, because of course the first translation of the Arabian Nights into English happened in the 19th century. I need to talk about this in a moment, because I can't talk about that specifically because there's a lot of pornography involved. Yes, I know what I'm saying. I published a chapter in a book about these Orientalism in Victorian photography. I'm not even talking. It was very much fetishized, and it is still, with the veils and the naked people, because the Orient is taken at this land of the Orient. The idea of the Orient, which by the way, it could mean anything from Egypt to China, it eliminates any kind of barrier. And it eliminates, very given to decline of the fallen Roman Empire? No, but I will make a note on that one if you recommend it. In general, the visions of the other are always particular. But what was I saying? Oh, I was saying something about fetishes. So it was terrible, and the Orient, this idea of the Orient, at least of the Middle East, was that it was a land of freedom, of forbidden pleasures, of this kind of unrolled realm where magic and reality intertwine. It's bad. It is bad. It is terrible. The fantasies of the 19th century European gentlemen were filled in a non-existing narrative that they forced upon into the Orient. And I think there's not enough talk about this. That's the reason I like this, because I like deconstructing these ideas. And, you cannot just... Recently, for example, I happened to watch the latest version of Aladdin by Disney, the live action one. And whereas it's not the most terrible thing I've seen, I admit that when they are showing Agrava and the people there, there's a mixture of things. You have people with traditional clothing from the north of Africa, because there's people dressed up like Amazigh, for example. And then you have people that look much more that they come from India and the Indian Ocean shores. And then people from Arabia. There's like a hint of Persian clothing, and I am quoting this severely because even if it's just to portray a fantasy, Islamicate, Islamicized, I can't say this in English, Islamizado, like sort of Islamic atmosphere, kind of, it was still to be laughed upon. And do not get me wrong, for fantasy settings, I love reading Islamic fantasy because they bring the real goodies and the real deal on it. And for sure, I mean, if you are mixing fantasy, if it's a world of fantasy, as long as you're teaching it with respect, have anything that you'd like. But yeah, normally it's built upon these stereotypes, like flying carpets, for example. Damn it! And I am like digressing so much. So much. So I'm gonna focus. I'm gonna do like a Arabian Nights, like Arabian Days. I love that song, and it's terrible that I love it, but I do love it. It's amazing. It's beautiful. So I need 0 kilometer carpets with Simorgh design. We all need Persian carpets. Have you seen them? Like the Safavid carpets. My deliciousness. Oh my god. The Safavid carpets are something else. Do you want me to talk about Safavid carpets? I don't like textiles that much, but I can squeeze them for you because there's dragons in them. Of course. And there's Simorgh in them. Of course. What a surprise. I mean, I do you want me to note that down? The Safavid carpets? I think you want. In the Iranian market, yes, note the carpet also. Okay, I mean, Nefer is here for everything. The Iranian market on Caracas are on sale. In the Iranian markets are on sale on Persian carpets. I mean, they're nice enough. I have a copy of one. Did I say Orientalism again? No, but I did now. Okay. Cheers. Safavid rugs. Oh, and yeah, it is. Yeah, it's still very much alive now. I don't think it's that popular, but definitely is a living market. Now that I have you here, Typhoon, Nefer, how do you say carpet in Persian? Because I think I never learned that word. Nefer Jun, how do you say carpet? Or rug? Cheers to that. I mean, yeah, my tea is not, and I don't have water with me. Farsh? You tell me. I mean, I have no idea. Like, I have like literally no idea. How do you say carpet or rug? Is there a difference between carpet or rug in Persian? Because I think if there's a language that will have a differentiation for these kind of terms, it will be this one. It will be Persian. It's been 20 minutes and I haven't said anything about Irām of the Pillars. So, going back, do you want me to note down, since we are on the subject of noting things down for future streams, do you want me to note that, to make a tiny note about these pornography thingy and the Victorian guys? I cannot show those pictures. I will get into so much trouble if I did. I showed them when I was given the paper because it was first a conference and then it was turned into a book. And in the do I have it here? No, I don't. I don't have the book. I can't show it them because they're very specific and explicit. So all right. So, yeah, I can talk about them, definitely. So, yeah, we can talk about the first translation of the Arabian Nights and Arabian Days. which is a very poor translation. Post it on Discord. Definitely. I mean, so I'm gonna lure you to Discord just because I have dirty pictures. That's like, no, on me, not of me, Twitch. Like, just for science. Definitely just for science. Okay, so all right. Oh, I've missed you, Bacha. I really miss talking with you, and I really like feeling that these streams are very much alive. But we have a topic to deal with, and this is a ride. Like, I don't know how else to describe it. I am still curious about the thingy, the Persian term for the thing. Sorry, I'm multitasking. I'm multitasking, and when I'm doing that, I can't just turn to one thing. Oh, see, I just received an email to confirm a meeting about something that's coming in the near future. Hopefully, if I don't mess anything up. Typhoon kisses to you. I would say that farsh is the general word, but gabe is something I recognize too. But perhaps it's a tire. Okay, all right, sure. Okay, I love learning Persian with you. Then let's also talk about Rash Sharqi representation in Western mass media. That is something that puts me on the nerves as well. I mean, I can make a note for that too. I always say this. You can suggest things. Oh my goodness sake! I mean, I don't know much about ballet dancing. I am not in Egypt, but I'm not in Egypt. Can I speak? I'm not an expert. I'm not an expert in the history of dancing whatsoever, or the history of Egypt, but we can bring it in relation to the topic of Orientalism in media. So I've been learning and practicing it for 15 years. Amazing! You must be so good at it. I bet it's so much fun. Like, for that, I can guarantee it's like amazing. All right, and now, Irām of the Pillars. Okay, so let's start from the very, very, very beginning. What is Irām of the Pillars? Irām is an ancient Arabian name most commonly associated with, in modern writing that is, with a lost city, quote, 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 with a city in southeastern Arabia, the capital of the pre-Islamic people of Ad. These are going to be important. Whom apparently, and according to the Quran, God destroyed for their disbelief, according to the author's Korban Club, that is. And the mention we find Irām in the Quran itself, and this is the first part, and just from the very beginning, the story is interesting because Irām appears mentioned in the Quran, and this is the main source that we're gonna part from for the very rest of the stream. We have no other written sources where the word, because we're going to be discussing a lot. And take notes, Bachar, because at the end of the stream, I'm going to make a poll, because I know what I believe Irām is, but I want you to choose. There's many possibilities, but I want you to choose, and I'm curious about your choices. Because the meaning of Irām has undergone a very complex evolution and a constant evolution, and debated in both incredible Muslim and non-Muslim narratives. But first, we're going to deal with we're going to follow mostly, and I hope we're going to follow chronological order, because you see, the discussions about Irām of the Pillars were not started at all whatsoever in the West. No. The very own Muslims started this discussion because, see, apparently it could be a toponym, but also it could be the name of a tribe, and that is where the very first discussion started. Because in the Quran, and let me read the verses for you. This name appears in Surah 89, verses 6 to 8, where it's mentioned with the pre-Islamic people of Ad. The people of Ad were eliminated from the surface of earth by God in a passage that's very commonly read in other monotheistic verses for other monotheistic religions. And yes, I'm talking about Judaism, and more specifically, I'm talking about the Bible and Christianity. Because it is a case of a city that defied God's power, and as a punishment, God banished them. And let me read you the verses that I have here in a translation. It says, "Hast thou not seen how thy Lord did with Ad, Irām of the pillars, the like of which was never created in the land? Hast thou not seen how thy Lord dealt with Ad, at Irām, adorned with pillars, the like of which has not been created in the land?" That's like alternative translations. "And seest thou not how thy Lord dealt with the Ad people of the Irām with lofty pillars, the like of which were not produced in all the land?" So we have many things. The surah is Surah 89, and the verses are 6 to 8. Did God banish them with a laser sword? Please tell me the sound you made is true to the sources. It is the most accurate sound for that episode that you will ever find in the entirety of the internet. That I can guarantee you. So there's this, as you can see, Irām, which the name of in Arabic is Irām Dhat al-Imad, that of lofty pillars, the one with the pillars, the one with the columns, the one with the posts, the one with the Irām Dhat al-Imad. And that's what we have. A brief mention in the Quran linked to the city of, to the people of Ad. Who are the people of Ad? The people of Ad were a nomadic tribe that apparently were very powerful at some point during pre-Islamic Arabia. And from the very beginning, from the very writing down of the Quran and the start of exegesis, I don't know if I'm pronouncing that, exegesis? How do you pronounce that in English? Because in Spanish, it's exegesis. I'm going to Google it. Exegesis. Exegesis, like being the ex of a Jesus. It sounds like if an Italian person was trying to say they were the exegesis. So the exegesis, I can't say it. Oh my God, I can't unsee it now. Damn it. Oh my God, I've broken myself. Doesn't matter. Anyway, so the exegesis of the Quran started from the very beginning. There was this debate, and we have two big groups, two big schools of thought, two big opinions. On the one hand, there were the people that believed that Irām of the pillars was not a location. It was the name of a tribe. It was another form of referring to the people of Ad. That would be a toponym. However, there were other people, other exegetists, I don't know how to say that, or the interpreters of the Quran that thought that Irām of the pillars was referring to a city, a capital, the capital of a city. And why did people believe that it might not refer to a place, particularly not a city? Because of these mentioned to the pillars, those imad. So the pillars normally refer to the tent poles, because as I was saying, pretty much the whole population of pre-Islamic Arabia was nomadic. They follow a nomadic lifestyle, and that means they do not settle and they do not build, they do not use architecture, at least not one that's durable and is not meant to last. Because of that, with the many tents, we think, and I say we because I am positioning myself already, yes, I do think Irām was not a place. I think Irām was a tribe. That's my opinion. I mean, I have no reason to hide it from you, because that is exactly what I believe. And because after reading and stuff, it's the thesis that most convinced me. And so for this tradition, when they read these Ad in the sense, the people of Ad, and they accompany with the term of Irām, they imply that the Irām were the people related. What did the nomadic tribes eat? It really depends, but they did foraging and they had a lot of cattle. So yeah, it varies. And also it varies from century to century, because we're talking about ancient past. So yeah, in the However, it is very fun. Okay, so we have these big opinions, just two big opinions, that Irām was a city and that Irām was not a city. There's, yeah, of course, camels, goat, sheep, cows. Cattle are they can endure. Let me tell you that. They're not the cattle that we are normally used to in the West. Horses also, mares, like the ones in Mongolia, although these were a little bit hairless because they didn't need such a thick coat. But yeah, they did have cattle, of course. And also, there's more climatology in the Arabian Peninsula than just desert. Just to clarify that. I think that needs to be said. Where was I? Oh yeah, so on the one hand, we have the people that believed that Irām was a city, and on the other hand, we have people, among them I include myself, that believe that Irām was just 10 poles and there were nomadic people as well. This Rodriguez city, it is, and yet it's not, definitely, yeah. But there was a third opinion, which was very fun, at least for me to read, that interpreted that these columns, these pillars, were actually giants. So they thought that Irām was a city of giants, and that is much more lost in the beginning of a very early mythology, and I love it. And the thing is, there was never an opinion that I was going to say that shone above the other. There was not an opinion that was more convincible than others, and more convincing. That's the word I was looking for. Because each interpretation in the Quran is grammatically permissible. They all could be true based on how the Quran is written in Arabic. And that's fantastic, because according to this, the three were right. Irām could be a city, Irām could be the name of the tribe and the nomadic people, and Irām could be a city that was populated by giants. And that's gorgeous. And there's no a decision to be made. Attack on Titan Islamic Edition, definitely. There was never a consensus among the scholars, and I think this is amazing. Yeah. And then we've seen the main source again. Remember. Keep this in mind if you can through the entire stream, because the origin of all of this was a verse in the Quran, and the Quran is the only source remaining with the mention of Irām of the pillars. So we're going to continue. So the Quran is written, and the exegesis, I can't say it in Turkey, I don't know, boy, in serio. Exegesis, and the exegesis persists, and we know scholars do not come to just one opinion, and we move forward. And the position, at least in the very early stages of Islam, and I'm talking about the 9th century mostly, 8th, 9th century, let's say 8th, yeah, let me check my sources, yeah. In the very early sources, the city of Irām did not exist. There was not such thing as the city of Irām. That opinion appears to be minoritarian in this time. I can't English today. I don't know what's wrong with my head, apart from the usual. But the sources I've been reading, they explain that in the very early stages of Islam and the very early stages of Arabian poetry being already Muslim, Irām was a tribe. Most of the time was referred as to a bygone people, and never as a reference to a city. In poetry, in pre-Islamic poetry, we have Irām used as they intertwine. They cite Irām. They also cite the people of Ad, and they express this idea that all things, even the powerful one, vanishable, that we are all going to pass through, and we're going to just come back to whatever the origin was. And in poetry is a very good source also. I cannot cite, I can give you poets, but my Arabic is terrible. So I'm reading you digressing in the comments, and I'm just like dying because I'm buying all of this. All of this I'm having. All of this, serve this hot with tea early in the morning, please. So yeah, we have in the very first stages of pre-Islamic poetry and the Quran, Irām is a metaphor for the futility of the existence. Even if we are very powerful because of what happened to the people of Irām, we're inevitably going to pass away. Nothing is permanent. So these verses give us the idea, or at least they transport the sense that Irām was not perceived at all as a city. True, there was that opinion, like that opinion existed, but it was not for the majority of people. And also we have Irām also as a metaphor, like in threats, and even in a very violent way. And I'm not joking. Like some poets boast that they will dispatch their enemies to the oblivion, whence they will join the dead Irām. Again, making this reference to Irām being a tribe and not a city. So I will destroy you completely. I will vanquish you from the surface of earth, and you will join the dead of the people of Irām. Again, not a city. Again, a tribe. And the adjective Irami, they connote noble, ancient, all these qualities that we normally associate with an ancient past. But again, and I insist, allow me to insist, not a city. And I'm talking about poetry from the 7th century, the 8th century, and so we see the closest that we are to the writing of the Quran. Irām is as a bygone people, a people that existed there, very powerful, but the people, the tribe, converted into a metaphor to evoke this feeling of futileness, of like I can't convey the word in English at this moment. I'm thinking in Spanish all the time, but you get the idea that everything shall pass, everything shall die, we're all going to die in the end. It doesn't really matter how powerful you are, so and blah blah blah. So and then we move into the Umayyad and early Abbasid time. Poets keep on addressing Irām as a tribe, as a people that lived in pre-Islamic Arabia. They don't give a location, they just existed. It's like these ancient people that were here, that were powerful apparently, and then they use a lot the additional allusions to the Quran and to these verses. And among them we have Al-Qatami, Al-Hawas, Al-Ansari, and all the people that are not poets, but they are genealogists and lexicographers, such as Al-Tabari and Ibn Qutayba. I need to talk about these people because I love them. Like, Tabari is so much fun to read, and they keep on endorsing this definition of Irām as the people of Ad. The people of Ad, where Irām is like, there were synonyms, and it was clear. And and that was much more established. So let's really recap, because we're starting to get into the rocky road is just ahead of us. So in the very beginning, there was this mention in the Quran, and there's pre-Islamic poetry that was carried on to the Islamic times. Irām of the Pillars could be a city. Irām of the Pillars, according to the interpretation of the Quran, Irām of the Pillars could be a city. Irām of the Pillars could be the name of a tribe of the people of Ad. And Irām of the Pillars could be the city inhabited by giants. The giant option was like not that popular at all. Then it was city, tribe, And in the early stages, the tribe argument was a little bit like heavier. It settled better among the common knowledge. We can speak about that, yeah. Like the Vox Populi had the tribe idea enhanced, whereas could be a city, but we really think it was much more of a tribe. And then at some point in time, Irām of the Pillars as a city starts gaining popularity. How did it happen? Let me tell you, because it is very, very funny and interesting. So there's a process of reinterpretation of this Quranic Irām as a city. And it could have happened as an alternative, like offering an alternative to justify a vocalization of Ad-Irām. And there is Al-Azhari, pardon, sorry, apologies. There is this dictionary that's called Ta'dib al-Lugha, written by Al-Zahri in 980. That is the first dictionary, the first written source that states that Irām might refer to the city of the Ad and not to the tribe. And then he cites another scholar, whose name is Al-Farra, as a source for this interpretation. This Al-Farra has a book published about the interpretation of the Quran, and they argue that this Irām of the Pillars could be, because of a way of interpreting the Arabic, it could be referring to a city, but they're not very dogmatic. This is the very early sources that we have, but they also accepted that Irām could be referring to a nomadic people. The intensity of this, like the real reason behind the popularity of Irām as a city, comes from a factional competition. It comes from a beef, from a grudge hold between two people. It comes from a stupid fight. I wish I was joking. I actually not. This is amazing. So, there is an elite faction. This is just fantastic. There is this faction of people, this tribe, this section of the population that are called the Yamaniya. In Yamaniya, during the Umayyad and early Abbasid caliphates, these Yamaniya auto-identified by themselves. I think that's also worth noting, but they identify themselves as the Yamaniya, the southern Arabs, people from Yemen, the Yemen people, and they wanted to give themselves a monumental and epic past, this heritage that never existed truly. That is important. And they tried to get away with it. They really tried to pull Darayavush the first in this one, and it was terribly a disaster, because they portray themselves in this. It's been so long since I used this word. So they construct their own self-defining narrative in such a manner that they portray themselves as their pre-Islamic forebears of a proto-Muslim urban empire. And this was in contrast, to the opponents, the northern Arabs. We have the Yamani, the southern Arabs, and then there is the northern Arabs who were nomadic and primitive, and some of them are the Ma'ad, the Nizar, or the Adnan. So they the Yamani portray themselves as these kind of heirs of this pre-Islamic urban empire that had built a massive monumental city, And these people were the Ad. Of course, their mythical ancestors are not so mythical according to me, but not to them. According to them, these people existed, which they did. The people of Ad, I know I explained that very poorly. Let me rephrase. The people of Ad were not mythical, but the idea of the people of Ad as the empire that the Yamaniya wanted to pull off, those were mythical. Because there was no such thing as this urban empire builder thingy. There was not a thing. So, the Yamaniya thought that the people of Ad were their ancestors, and when they interpreted the Quranic Irām, they did it in a manner that Irām was the capital of this empire that the people of Ad had built. Because these columns, they make reference of these palaces, these palace halls, and these corridors and these structures that were so magnificent. We're talking about the 900s in here. Like it's been a while. So these people have seen incredible palaces. So they want to convey that image in the ears of their listeners. Thank you. And oh my God, it gets much more twisted. It's incredible. So, not only that they created their own mythical king, because apparently this city of Irām, with many lofty pillars and columns, was built by a king named Shaddad. Shaddad ibn Ad, ¿por qué no? And there he lived and reigned for about 500 years. I don't know, Rick. Looks fake. I once heard an anthropologist say that the appeals of the form "we have always been a people" are in reality appeals to become a people. Not a statement about history, but rather attempts to create history. Absolutely. Definitely. Yeah. That is a very, very good way of understanding all of this. So they continue. Like the Yamaniya, they just don't stop, because they created this idea of the magnificent capital of an empire that was bygone, but they needed to give a location, and then they do not. There's like variety of arguments in here, because the Yamaniya said that Shaddad placed this city of Iran in Yemen. But all the people inside the Yamaniya identified the original settlement with Alexandria or with Damascus, because they thought the ruined Hellenistic pillars were there. They were, Shaddad's Irām. Listen. Azizam. Momentico. Vía, Inja. I need to tell something, que te voy a contar una cosa. So, you see, the thing that cracks me up is that there is no consensus within the same narrative, the Yamaniya. They didn't know where to place it, because never was an Irām of the Pillars. Never existed. Why? Because the good one is that the Irām of the Pillars was not a city. It was a nomadic tribe. And I'm going to try to convince you, because I am very much convinced that this was never a place. So, there's some poetry written about it. And there's other traditions that they really try, like the Yamaniya really tried to squeeze those theories, but it's always this beef. It's because of a beef between North and South. The Southerners really want this empire and mythical past, but then the Northerners are like, what? And because again, remember that the official quote-unquote interpretation, at least the most popular one, was that was accepted. Nobody denied it, apart from the Yamaniya. The most popular opinion was that Irām, that Alimad, was the name of a tribe. Ay, la Virgen del Pilar, yeah, la Virgen del Irām. So, Then the years pass and we start delving into the 10th century, the very last decades of the 9th and the very early decades of the 10th century. And the Iraqi writers, the northern Arab writers, they still identify Irām as a tribe. They do. Or you see that we have Al-Tabari, for example, but you see that it started like slowly but steadily. Although the main opinion in the north is that it's a tribe, you find some other sources like Masudi where Irām of the Pillars is quoted as a city. And the Yemeni writers, like the southern writers, they continue to promote the interpretation of Irām as a fabulous South Arabian city. And then we have an opinion that was going to be taken in account many centuries later, and that is of the lexicographer Nashwan al-Himyari. He rejected the idea of Irām of the Pillars being Damascus or Alexandria, but he thought the city could be either in Aden or Hadramaut, and I'm really sorry because I butchered this name, but it's been very long since I wrote down. Oh, Deleti, thank you so much for your subscription. It's been so long since I read Arabic for the last time. Azizam, you're a jewel. Thank you so much. Cheers to you. And you see this idea of Hadramaut being repeated over and over, that it's gaining popularity. And then it comes the mystic of it and the epicness of it, because people do not stop there. And tales and legends start to appear. And in this moment, we have introduced the jinn. So apparently the jinn inhabited Irām, and many of the stories were told about the city, that it was of course filled up with treasures, that people performed magic in there, that Irām was created out of the sand and disappeared into it again because of a storm. There's this legend saying that at some point the city can be seen within a storm, that in a very severe sandstorm, you can get a very little glimpse of the city for a second, and then it comes down into the sand again. And then this mystic of Irām, lost city, it started to gain incredible popularity, because as I was saying, sometimes we want so badly a good story, also influenced by other narratives such as the 1001 Nights was already around, and other epic traditions. The Shahnameh was around already, so it's very elaborated, and you see how people started more and more adding bits and bobs to it in order to convey this image of a city of magic, of mystery, of mystique. And then the story changed, because the initial idea was that the Yamaniya boasted Shaddad as a proto-Muslim empire builder, and this was twisted in such a way that then Shaddad was portrayed as a tyrant that he built Irām. He ordered the construction of Irām to rival paradise itself, and only to be completely destroyed by God in the end upon the city's completion. Even in the very last night of the city's building, God swept everything out the gate as a punishment for this pride. And that's incredible, because again, we're seeing borrowing narrative from other existing tales, the 1001 Nights, the Shahnameh, and all the later epics. And then and that is the doing of poets. Of course, this has nothing to do with scholarly or with Quranic interpretation. Absolutely not. This is just poetry. It's poetry and storytelling. And then another beef starts, because on the one hand we have all the poets, the bards. Do you like D&D? I love D&D. I never played a bard, but I like the bards can be the worst. So on the one hand we have the bards, and on the other we have the scholars. Hello, Christian. And the scholars were so critical of this distortion and this convolution of the original narrative. People such as Mas'udi, Yaqut, I love Yaqut. I need to talk about Yaqut at some point. Ibn Khaldun, these people that really practice the exegesis of the Quran, were contemporary with the growth of Irām as a legend, and they criticized the tales that maintain these wrong interpretations of Irām as a city or as a nomadic tribe, because they were so intensely, like, the scholars were always of the opinion, like the majority of scholars that we have account from, they were really, really strongly based in the opinion that Irām of the Pillars was never a city, and definitely was not this magical, mystical city that poetry and storytelling had created. And yeah, the scholars were mad. They were properly mad. Yeah, F for the architect. And don't discard that there was a big Kabuzada. Yeah, possibly Kai Kavuz would have believed that there was a magical city and he would have gone pursuing its finding. Jesus. And, but yeah, this is something I want you to be clear, be clear about, which is the scholars always, the Muslim scholars, they knew this was pure fantasy, that this was created for pure entertainment, and they knew that Irām of the Pillars was never a city, and they were very critical about it. And then, many moons, many centuries after, the West comes into play, and we have in the modern Western literature, we have the idea of this mystical lost city that, of course, according to the archaeology and the way archaeology was done in back in the day, this city had to be found, because the locals were not that intelligent, nor had all the possibilities to find this magnificent lost city that for sure would contain a lot of treasures and a lot of archaeological findings. And this is how, Bachar, everything started going south. This is when dirt hit the fan terribly, because where do I start? Okay, so we have an archaeologist, his name is Sprenger, and he disclosed the idea of this. He was the only one with, like, you know, half a brain, because he disclosed the idea of this legendary city as quite, like, unbelievable. But then again, the bards, the poets, the creators, because Washington Irving, do you know Washington Irving? Let me tell you, he was a writer that lived in Spain. He lived in Granada for quite a while, and he lived in the Alhambra, yes, in the monument, and he wrote these stories, every single one of them, not fake, but narratively creative. They were not historical, they were just, again, narrative and folklore tales and stuff like that. And even in there, in the Alhambra, Washington Irving included Irām as a fabulous story, and then we have people that actually put money and effort into trying to look for Irām of the Pillars. And we have the British explorer Charles Doughty, and he traveled to the south of the Arabian Peninsula in 1876, and kind of picked and mixed, because he chose everything he wanted to believe from some historical theses, but also from, like, Irving's mytho-poetic creation, and then he coined Irām as the city of columns, the terrestrial paradise, because why stop there? And then Doughty very severely influenced the 20th century British travelers that went to Arabia, and the Orientalist mystique he evoked of an adventure in these inhospitable sands, because Irām was very close with this idea of the sand and the storm. I know. But then, up to that point, Irām was, at least, to the very least, Irām was still its own thing. And then Orientalism kicked very hard in the face of the narrative and the historical tradition, because as I was saying, the Muslim scholars and the Muslim interpreters of the Quran knew that Irām was never referring to a city, and they were very solid. They were in very solid ground with the argument that Irām of the Pillars was another name for the people of Ad. I'm starting to heat up a little bit. I apologize, but this infuriates me because there was a misinterpretation of two sources just because two people were too lazy to give two different cities their own personality. And allow me to illuminate you. There were two people there were named Philby and Thomas that thought of a new... Oh, thank you so much, Sacerdotisa. Oh, Serapis, now you are subscribed. Oh, thank you. You gifted someone with this. You're such a cute... You've nearly given away almost 30, like 29 subscriptions. You're but a gem, and I love you dearly, and I squeeze your head in a very like tight embrace. So as I was saying, Philby and Thomas mistook Irām with another lost city, with another city that was talked about in sources, because how come there was going to be two cities that were not there anymore? Absolutely not. The Orient has only space. There's just one slot for the lost city, and it's impossible that there's two of you. Lost city. Jesús bendito. So they mixed it with another city called Ubar or Wabar. Some Arabic literature from the 9th to the 11th century, they narrated a wonderful tale about Wabar in Arabia's empty quarter, but it was never specified the name in any places. No, so the stories were so similar, like the one from Irām and the one from Wabar. Or Ubar. I'm going to use Ubar because I like the name better, but Wabar is also a valid name for it. That's the only thing. So the similarity of the themes of the tropes and the stories merge in English that then coined the term, who was this mother fluffer? Because I need to tell you the name of the culprit of all of this. Where is it? Sorry, I'm properly angry. Oh my Jesus. I cannot even say that. Who was this? Oh yeah, there we go. Hello, Rafin! Oh, thank you so much for the subscription. Oh my god, I love you all subscribing. I'm just very, very excited. Okay, I have it. I have the culprit. I am properly angry now. Sorry, I'm gonna drink a sip of tea. Orientalism. Cheers. So there was this person. He was called Thomas Edward Lawrence, and he was a British archaeologist that coined the term the Atlantis of the Sands for referring to not Irām, but Irām and Ubar, because now, according to Western literature, Irām and Ubar were the same bloody thing. Because again, God forbid that you find two different narratives that slightly coincide in certain things and you consider for a moment that it could be more than one story to be told about different cities, different locations, in completely different circumstances. No, everything had to be the same for you. And this term, the Atlantis of the Sands, is a double-edged sword. And allow me to explain. I understand that for some time, if you are familiar with the myth of Atlantis, it is very much true that the myth is practically the same with Irām. We have a city that dares to go against the will of an entire, like an entity that's super powerful, and then this entity punishes so aggressively the pride of these people that they just have vanished and with no records and nothing but stories and little archaeological findings for us to, like pick this like crumbs to pick and to try and build a loaf. Oh my god! Thank you mais, no soy Ross. Oh, Ele, now you have a subscription. Oh my god. You are just too much, Bacha. I really like that. I am enjoying that you are giving away subscriptions because I'm angry. Yes, exactly. Loco, you expressed it brilliantly. Due to budgetary constraints, you have decided to merge your departments. Definitely. It was like that. It was terrible. So the Atlantis of the Seas thingy. So I understand that if you want to get someone acquainted with the myth of Irām, and at least with the created myth of Iran, it is certainly fair and legit to use the term, it's like Atlantis of the Sun, but at least for just the very early stages, in order to compare it to something that might sound much more familiar to the ears of your listener. And, oh my god! But stop it! Oh my god, that is just amazing! Thank you so much! You are so cute! Oh my god! Oh, we did it! Oh! You are so... Oh my god, you are just too much. I can't... Oh. Cheers to all of you, yeah. The party started. The party started in Irām with all the jinn. Like, all the jinn are dancing and wiggling around. Like, woo hoo hoo hoo. And thank you so much. Oh, we are setting up a new record. We unlocked level 2 of the hype train. The hell that means. But thank you so, so much. You are just amazing, and I love you dearly. And I really like bringing those things to you because I know, I am aware that you enjoy. You're very entertained at my anger, which is always fantastic. Who pinned that feather on my head? Sacerdotisa did. She gifted you a subscription. Yay! Now you are wearing a very lovely feather. Also, loco, did you know that sacerdotisa means priestess in Spanish? There you have it. And thank you, Mucha. Es como la cara. I ate up your face. So this thing, Atlantis of the Sands, was so taken into, like, it just merged and in the Western media. And what do you think? Did you think that I would stop in the 19th century? I am very much afraid that the myth and the legend of Irām of the Pillars continued on until very, very recently. And by very recently, I mean 2007, because in 1992, there was this person called Ranulph Fiennes who wrote a book called Atlantis of the Sands about the expedition that he personally funded with his money in order to find Irām of the Pillars. Irām Ubar. And some expeditions really, they uncovered some ruins of a very, like, much like 14th, 13th century built in the center and southern Oman. But despite of this late date, people did not pay attention whatsoever to, you know, the dating of the sources, because yes, something was brought out. It was like, yeah, the ruins, some ruins appeared, but these belong to the 13th or 14th century, meaning that impossible that they were Irām of the Pillars, because first of all, Irām of the Pillars was never ever a city, it was a tribe, and second of all, if it was a city, it would have belonged to a very much earlier stage of history, that being pre-Islamic times, which means that it's impossible that you find something that is dated 14th century. Yet people gave this amount of fucks because they started to say, oh, this is the Quranic Irām, we found it, blah blah blah, and it was so bad. And they again started bringing the wondrous, the mystical. But fortunately for us, we have another people working on Irām, and we have here the archaeologist Judith Zarins, who's an American Latvian archaeologist. And in 1996, he started discussing Irām in an interview, and he and I'm quoting, let me quote, there's the last sip of tea, which this is the very, 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 very last. since there's many of us here, just allow me to invite you over to a Discord server. You can support me on Patreon if you want to get access to extra content and behind the scenes, and just to hear me talk about art. And I take stories in Patreon. I just narrate little stories, not that I created, but I re-narrate Islamic legends and stories, and you can vote for the content if you want. You have access to the art post that we make, because we talk a lot about art. And where was I? Oh yeah, the quote from Judith Zarins, and he says, and I quote, "There is a lot of confusion about that word, Irām, that is. If you look at the classical text and the Arab historical sources, Ubar refers to a region and a group of people, not to a specific town." Again, he is mixing Irām and Ubar as the same thing. People always overlook that, and basically, I received an emoji from the hype train, and it's a cat. Okay, all right, I need to do the choo-choo thing. It's a cat, I think. Is that a cat? I see a cat. I don't know. So, and in 2007, further research and further excavations showed that Zarins was, as far as he was concerned, there was no evidence that there was this city that perished in a storm. And the interpretation again suggests that Irām was never a city, was a tribe of people. And I know that I promised you some Lovecraft, didn't I? Of course I did. And do you hear the whistles? But when will the stream of the story of the well-known Irán of the Pale City begin? Oh no, maybe you would never get that. So yeah, the last bit I wanted to talk about was Lovecraft. And why? Because he used Irām of the Pillars as the settings of one of his most famous short stories, which is The Nameless City, a very short horror work written in January 1921 and published in November 1921. And this is often considered, the more you know, this is often considered the first story set in the Cthulhu mythos. How do you pronounce Cthulhu? Cthulhu, Chuchuflu, I don't know. Cthulhu, Chulu, I don't have a proper, I don't care. And in this Chulu, pues eso. And in this story, this unnamed narrator goes to the middle of the Arabian Peninsula in order to enter and explore a lost city. And he gets lost in the desert and gets into these mysterious, of course, everything's big, ugly octopus thingy. Having that, and gets lost in these ruins, and there's like a temple with an altar and painted murals and a staircase, and then he's crawling with his hands and knees as he gets deeper and deeper into the temple. But yes, it's known that he used the legend of Irām/Ubar and as a source for this very famous story. But that's not the only thing. Like oh my god, I am so angry right now. In the infamous third volume of the franchise, the video game franchise Uncharted, this is supposedly to be set in Ubar, and it is the most orientalistic bullshit that I've ever seen in my entire life, because it always goes as follows. There is this lost city holding a very big bunch of treasures and lost information. Lost to who, by the way? But the locals are not intelligent enough to discover that by themselves, and the locals are superstitious, and they think there's this sort of a curse upon these ruins. And then of course the Westerner, I don't care if it's an archaeologist, I don't care if they are an assassin or if they are el Papa en bicicleta, like Virgin Mary driving a Oh, how do you say docharge? A bicycle, a bike. Yeah, it could be Virgin Mary in docharge. I don't care. It's always a Westerner that has to come here to show the locals to understand and unearth these lost ancient ruins and show the people around how important this heritage was, because there was not a way that the locals could be aware of that. Oh my Dios mío. And that, among many other things, is because of Orientalism and colonialism. I've lost count. I think Serapis has it for me. Yeah, Letty, you are on point in here. It's very much like that, but for every single location for the Middle East. And that is terrible. Terrible because, as you can see, the confusion for the Islamic authors was never as such. The Islamic authors had very much in mind that Irām was referring to a tribe from the interpretation of a Quranic verse. Then the poets and the storytellers allowed themselves some fantasy and started to, sugarcoat it with more and more and more. And then they come, along came the jinn, and along came the paradise, and the story of these mythical. The Yamaniya people, they very much were aware that this was a big fat lie, but they wanted to make that their own mythical past. So they gave, again, zero amount of shade to historical accuracy, because they wanted this mythical epic past as opposed to the neighbors in the north. But every time it was established that, and then the West comes in, and everything is a disaster. And everything is disastrous because they not only they insist on finding this lost paradise inhabited by lovely mystical creatures and the evil jinn. Evil jinn, me cago en la leche. But also, they mixed up Irām and Ubar, that were different cities, in two completely separated narratives and the fruit of completely different circumstances. And then they create this new idea of a city that was just devoured by a storm. Who needs the historical accuracy when the West is here to explain the locals what their legends mean? And it is infuriating, but I admit there is so much fun. And I hope that I've conveyed a discourse not so difficult to follow, that you now are aware that Irām of the Pillars was just the will of the West to find a lost city and to perform Indiana Jones. They were giving Indiana, they were giving, the Mummy. Yeah, it's exactly the same as making up the lost city of Hamunaptra from the Mummy film. Excellent film, by the way. We love Rachel Weisz in that role. And but it is the same thing. It is exactly the same thing. Lost mystical city, the desert, the Orient, the sands, the jinn, the treasures. Apparently, I don't know. This idea of a bygone paradise, I don't know. It's a bloody disaster. But any resemblance to real or imagined events is purely coincidental. 100%. The only real lost city is Teruel. Cheers to Teruel. If you don't know what Teruel is, it's a city in Spain, and apparently it's lost somewhere. Okay, so cheers to Teruel. And to everyone from Teruel that's watching me at this moment. Anywho. I hope my anger has indeed entertained you. I hope my race has provided entertainment for those of you at the other side of the screen. But that's pretty much I had to say about Irām of the Pillars. And now let's pull out the poll. Because I want to know, what do you think Irām of the Pillars was? I need the options. And I would love you to vote. If you are comfortable enough with doing that. Choose your Irām of the Pillars. We have on the one hand the tribe. I am voting too. I'm choosing this one. We have the tribe. We have the city of giants. We have the lost paradise. and we have the Atlantis of the Sands. And we have all the above. Okay, so I'm gonna give you 2 minutes to vote because I feel a lot of people will be shy. All right, there you have it. The poll is out in the world, and I myself are gonna vote, and my vote is gonna go to the tribe. And because people don't know much. Like, I know that Sacerdotisa has voted for the giants because she loves the idea of Irām being actually inhabited by giants. Who voted for the Atlantis of the Sands? You're the worst. You're the worst. By the power of the rule of cool, my theory goes thusly. Irām was a lost city built by a nomadic tribe of giants who worshipped all ancient ones from Lovecraftian Cthulhu mythos, and their intention was to rival the beauty of the paradise. It was destroyed by God because he had too many cliches in there. I don't have proof, but I have no doubts either, because I play bards in D&D. I love it. I love it. I don't know if you're on Discord, Eric, but I need that. I'm literally gonna copy paste that, and I'm gonna use it somehow, somewhere, because I need this. Is the best. It's the best. My God, I love it. It's perfect. Oh my God, it's perfect. Oh wow, the City of Giants is winning. I thought the Atlantis of the Sun was gonna win. There's still some time to vote, I think. Yeah, some seconds remaining, so if anyone wants to add their vote. I love the above. I want to make you angry. It is a tribe. It is a tribe. It's a group of people. It's a nomadic tribe. I follow the opinion of only very good Muslim scholars, geographers, lexicographers, and whatever Tabari says, va a misa, goes to mass, goes to church. It's written in stone because Tabari is the saint I pray to. Okay, so according to this session, Irām of the Pillars was a city of giants. Although I think we can all agree, I'm a tang amongst these three. I think we can all agree that the very, very best explanation for Irām of the Pillars was Eric's. Because again, when historical accuracy is absent, and not just absent, refused the entrance to the party, the bard comes in. And the bard always comes up with the very, very best stories. So, Butcha, that's everything I have for you today. I really hope that you've been entertained, and I really hope that you had a good time. I definitely had, and I think I will be, Eddie is the bard, not the bad, the bard. I think Irām is a dungeon stuff with random encounters, damsels in distress, and treasure chests. I love dungeon crawlers. I love playing dungeon crawlers. The bard, yeah. Oh, sorry, excuse me. I'm the bard. I don't know why I did that. I'm not mocking anyone because of the accent, I promise. Ay, Jesus. So yeah, that's everything I have for today. I think I need to debunk much more legends, and definitely I'm gonna talk about Orientalism much more. And I can't drink anymore. What's the final count? The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. That is the name of a campaign I cannot wait to play. 11, okay. We just want to see those columns on fire, definitely. Thank you for tonight. It was great fun. I really hope it was for you, because it was definitely for me. And thank you so much, Bacha, for all your support. Thank you to all of you who subscribed and who gifted subscriptions. That really helps me going. Again, I have a Patreon open, so you want to give a hand with this, you will get access to very nice rewards for that. You can access the private and Patreon exclusive post, and you get to vote for future content, and you get to see what we're going to talk about in advance. And we also have a Discord server and a Telegram channel. I'm not going to give out like my socials because I don't use Twitter anymore, and I barely use Instagram because I really dislike it. And so yeah, if you want to join the community, join our Discord server, pop into Telegram. The Telegram channel I use much more for like reminders. But yeah, I would love to see you there. And I would love to see you here again in a couple of weeks where we're gonna talk about something very special. La, 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 la. We're gonna go back to Persianate. And I'm gonna love it. Yes, the Discord I used to post my pics, apparently. Yes, you do. It's been a while since you posted one, but we like your pictures a lot, so it was fun. I'm really happy you enjoy your tierra. And yeah, and I'm just very like, I'm gonna go lay down or laugh or make another cup of tea. I don't know. Which I thank you so much, so much. Oh, also, let me ask you something, because I did this in Spanish and the opinion of the answer was very much yes. But I'm going to start a book club with my Spanish speaking audience, and we're going to read Orientalism by Edward Said. I know very, very many people in these. I have something to post in Discord because they made some similar references in Genghis Impact. Do it now. Do it. And so yeah, I'm going to start. That doesn't count. I'm gonna start Edward Said's most famous book, and if it's something you would be interested in, drop me a message and we can discuss doing that in English as well. It's not something I'm gonna put the effort into if that's something you don't want to do. This is not a menace. It's just a matter of fact. My time is limited, so is yours. So if you don't want that, I'll just skip it. We can read something else, and we can just read the Book of Kings. Yes for the English and sí para español. Dile sí. And yeah, I had a blast. And Bacha, thank you so much for being here. You are the light of my weeks, I promise. So I shall not depart now without reminding you to explore, to create, and to have lots of fun. And until we see each other next time, I bid you Khodafis.